Hey, Sean. So, I guess the first new perspective is the fact that I never, ever, ever stream in vertical, and we're streaming in vertical, which I'm learning about, and I don't love, and I'm not sure how YouTube is changing, but now every time I make a live stream, it's like, you want this to be vertical, right? I'm like, no, I really don't want it to be vertical. I'd like it to be horizontal, and I have to go in and change a setting manually every time. And it even says like vertical, recommended. But as I'm sitting here, it is Tuesday, January 16th. Does that sound right? And it was a long weekend because here in St. Louis, a couple of things happened. One, Monday was MLK Day. And I won't get into that, but what matters for this story is that schools were closed. My son was off school, and my daughter was home, obviously, because she's 5.5 months old. So I was taking care of my son and daughter on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then today was a snow day in St. Louis. Most of the schools were closed, and so that's 4 days straight, unexpectedly, that fourth day. And I was having conversations with fellow parents who were predictably losing their minds a little bit. And granted, I had a different situation than most. But what was extra tough about these things was that during this time, just randomly, my daughter has been sleeping really poorly, like for 4 or 5 nights in a row. Just going through a sleep regression, teeth coming in, these things happen, and it's tough. But on top of that, it has been very cold in St. Louis. So cold, in fact, that it got like 5 below, 6 below on Saturday night, Friday night. And then again, like 2 degrees and -3. It's been very, very cold. And that matters for 2 reasons. One, the heaters that we have 2 mini splits in our house that heat our bedroom and our son's bedroom. And we've had nothing but problems with these. They were installed 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and we've had them serviced like 8 times. It's been things screwed up with the compressor they installed wrong. There was leakage, which they said there wasn't leakage, and then the compressor burned out, and they were like, oh, there was leakage. But suffice it to say, it's been a difficult time. But these heaters, it turns out that we paid a lot of money for to put in our room and our son's room. These heaters just don't work when it's 0. If it's like less than 3 degrees out, these heaters just don't work. And that was never told to us during the installation process. And granted, in St. Louis, that really only happens once or twice a year. And this year, it's happening during the sleepless week. But at least last year we didn't know. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, it was like 40 degrees in our bedroom, and in our son's bedroom is even colder. And we couldn't sleep because the heaters are just not working and there's nothing we could do. And so luckily we had like an oil radiator portable space heater that we put in our son's room. And then we found out after calling the company, they're like, oh yeah, when it's really cold, the heaters don't work. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, that it would be too cold for your heater to work. It seems like this is a problem that we as a society have fixed. However, this year we were prepared for it, and seeing that the forecast was going to be as bad as it was going to be, I just turned off those mini splits, and we put 2 oil radiator space heaters that we have only for these situations, which is to say, man, do I feel privileged that we have access to this stuff, that we have a warm house when it's -5 degrees out. Not only as a modern society that we have created that, but also that I have access to those things. And so trying to remember that even though it's freezing, that our rooms, instead of being around 68 degrees as they typically are closer to like 64 overnight. These heaters are doing their best when it's -5 outside. But we survived, and my son slept through the night just fine, and we slept through the night just fine. My daughter didn't sleep through the night just fine, but that's not the fault of the cold. But after day, and with being so cold, the other thing is not only do our heaters not work, but we can't really go outside when it's -2. You can't go play in the snow really safely. And we didn't get that much snow. Like, it was a snow day, but that's because there was like a thin sheet of ice on everything. There was less than an inch of snow. And so it's not like oh, fun, let's go sledding. It's still just sidewalk out there. It's going to be bad news if you fall off your sled. And you'll be cold. You'll be very, very cold. So it was 4 long days of being inside, being colder in our bedrooms, and trying to come up with things to do. And I know that friends of mine struggled, and especially because they have partners that were working and gone just the same. They were left with bonus days of taking care of their kids. And I fought this, like, being stressed out a little bit and being grateful for the opportunity. And the one fatherhood tip that I think sums up all of parenthood in general is just keep trying to get better. If you think like, well, I've got this fatherhood thing down, you're not going to be as good of a father as if you had a bit of humility coming into it. And I try so hard to be present and to be thoughtful and to be there. And on these long days when I'm just a little stir crazy, I've been in the same 2 rooms with the same 3 people for 4 days straight. It can wear on you, but trying to switch my perspective to where I can appreciate what a fleeting opportunity this is. And it's going to be a blink of an eye before years have passed. And I think back to, like, remember when the kids were little? We had snow days and we just stayed stuck in the same rooms. There were no screens. We didn't watch anything. We weren't just watching movies the whole time. We were playing games and making art and talking and being silly and building a fire and just doing stuff that in a few years we're going to look back and say, like, wow, that was a cold, tedious 3 days, but we packed in some actual face-to-face connection. And having that perspective isn't something that comes naturally to me. It's not like I can sit here and say, like, all you need to do is look on the bright side. I understand it's not that easy, because it's not that easy for me, and it takes an active effort to say, you gotta push past some of the negativity, and you gotta push past some of the frustration that comes with these things and find that silver lining. And when you do, you'll be so much happier that you did, but it's not easy. And I have a couple friends of mine who are dealing with different things, and they're at different stages in their lives. And it's so, after my weekend, I feel this, not a pride, but I feel confident in the strength of my tools right now to have the perspective to say, like, this is hard, but it's good. And that's not something that you can tell somebody, like, you're in a hard situation, but think about it another way. Because I've also been in situations, even a couple weeks ago, where no amount of reason and logic and positivity pulled me out of where I was a week and a half ago. That was a dark few days. And reminding oneself that when you are able to flex the muscle to shift your perspective actively, when you're able to do it and cherish it and remember what it's like to do that, because there will be times when you cannot and when you do not. And it seems like you have no hope and no tools and no power. And if you can write down the times when you're able to flip your perspective and shift your outlook, you'll get better at doing it when it seems hard. And I get how easy that is to say here now when I'm feeling good and composed, and when currently at this moment my daughter is asleep, as we're on my live stream last week. As soon as I pushed go live, seriously, like the moment I pushed go live, she woke up and started screaming, and my wife was there, but it's not relaxing. It's not, I feel guilty being like, well, I'm going to go talk to my phone in the basement while my daughter screams upstairs. There's nothing you can do about it. She's in bed and fed and just as fussing as babies do. But it's not the easiest thing. It's a last week, entirely different place. And I think without last week, I wouldn't appreciate this week as much. And I find myself back on the metaphor that I forgot where I heard this. but the concept of the second mountain. And when you climb a mountain, you feel such pride and such accomplishment, and you can look around you and see what you've conquered and the adversity and the trials that you've overcome to get to where you are. But if you want to go to the second mountain, that's even harder, because first you have to climb all the way down before you can head back up again. And if there was a shortcut if there's a bridge from the top of one mountain to the top of the second mountain, and you walked across that bridge, you know that being on top of that second mountain, you didn't earn. And with these things, when you climb the mountain, when you conquer something, when you find that perspective, that composure, that presence, when you find that, knowing that you're going to climb down from that mountain and knowing that there's another mountain that you have to ascend, that remembering and reflecting on and writing your experiences during that first mountain climb, and especially when you summit that first mountain, writing that so that you can look back on it as you're ascending the second mountain, or third mountain, fourth mountain, fifth mountain, all the mountains that we're going to face in the rest of our lives. That little bit of reflection, when you've got your composure, will pay dividends when it's time for you to lose your tools on your way up the next mountain. That's all I got. I'm going to go keep hemming pants. Bought pants. They're too long because I'm short. And so for the first time, I'm hemming them myself, and it's going fine. That's my perspective on this one. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. My sincere apologies for the vertical nature of this video. I'm trying something. I'm shifting my perspective, my aspect ratio in my life and on my live stream. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day or night or whatever, wherever. See you later. Bye.